Hey, it's Paul and Val. In this video, we want to talk about something that everybody asks us about when they find out we moved from the prairies to BC. They ask us about grocery costs. Are groceries cheaper than they are in Edmonton or more expensive?
Yeah, I think that's always a question. Like even if you go on vacation somewhere, you're kind of curious going to the grocery store and seeing what the groceries costs are there compared to home. So same with here, when people come to visit us, they don't mind a trip to the grocery store and just kind of comparing what groceries prices are.
Exactly. And we're going to explore that. But before we get started, I'm just going to remind people, if they don't mind, to subscribe and ring the bell and like the video if they want to see more videos like this in the future. But for now, let's go talk about grocery prices. When people learn that we moved from Alberta to southern British Columbia, we're often asked if it's more expensive to live on the Sunshine Coast than it was to live in Edmonton. Some ask about vehicle insurance, and some people ask about paying taxes, and other people want to know about housing costs. But one thing everybody asks is, are groceries in Alberta cheaper or more expensive than they are in BC? The answer is less satisfying than I'd hoped. I made a shopping list with 36 grocery essentials and compared prices between the Sunshine Coast, Vancouver, and Edmonton. Using their websites, I shopped from the same grocery chain in each market on the same day, December 13th, 2020. The list was made up of staples like milk, eggs, and ground beef, and I tried to buy the same specific product in each different city. I ignored sale prices and went with the regular price. I won't bore you by reading a price list that's nearly 100 items long, but I will leave a link in the description to a spreadsheet that you can use to double check my work. Okay, so which location had the cheapest groceries? To my mild shock, Vancouver was the most affordable, followed very closely by Edmonton. The Sunshine Coast came in third place. Excluding sales taxes, the grand total for my 36 item shopping list was $172.75 in Vancouver, $173.56 in Edmonton, and $199.41 on the Sunshine Coast. I had the misconception that beef and dairy would be appreciably cheaper in Edmonton than Vancouver, but other than butter and yogurt, prices on those items were identical within a few cents of each other. If I'm honest, all three of these results were a little surprising to me. I expected to see a clear winner between Vancouver and Edmonton, but they're less than $1 apart. And the groceries on the Sunshine Coast were about 15% more expensive than either of those two cities. I can already hear the protests cascading over the Rockies, but Paul, Alberta doesn't have a provincial sales tax. That means everything is automatically more expensive in BC. Yes, BC does have a provincial sales tax, but we have an exemption for food for human consumption. That means there could be an additional 7% on some of the items on the list for both Vancouver and the Sunshine Coast, but so few that I don't think it really makes a difference in the outcome. So back to our original question, which province has the cheaper groceries? Well, as unsatisfying as it may be, the answer is it depends. Is it more expensive to buy groceries on the Sunshine Coast than it was in Edmonton? Well, yeah, mostly. But is it cheaper to buy groceries in Vancouver than in Edmonton? Well, kinda, depending on what specific things you're putting into your cart, but it's so close that I'm going to call it a tie. If comparing the cost of living is interesting to you, we could revisit the topic in future videos. Let me know in the comments below what expenses you want to know about. Should we compare utility costs, housing prices, what it costs to own a car, or is there something else you want to know that I'm not thinking of?
Well, thanks, Paul, for all that awesome investigating journalism on grocery prices.
Yeah, it was a bit of an eye-opener for me. I don't know that I was surprised that groceries were more expensive here than they were in Vancouver, but something that I was shocked by was how similar the price was between Edmonton and Vancouver, because a lot of time when we were living in Edmonton and the weather would be 45 below, we'd console ourselves by saying, well, at least it's so much cheaper to live in Edmonton. But the truth of it is that the grocery is not so much cheaper. It's, it's pretty much par for the course. Compared from Vancouver to here, we are paying 15% more. But like really, I think we've got to ask ourselves, what do we get for that extra 15%?
Yeah. And I mean, the costs that would incur is like you got the ferry, you're coming over on the ferry. So there's the ferry transport cost of the truck itself, taking that space on the ferry and paying that. And also, I guess, the time for the driver, because ferries sometimes are running every 2 hours. So, and then how many deliveries can you make on the Sunshine Coast compared to if you were in Vancouver, you could probably do a whole bunch of drop-off runs.
I think that's probably right on the money. And I think another aspect to look at is what do we actually get for our extra 15% here? And we've got a number of grocery stores that they provide employment for us. They give back to the community. I know Bob Hoy at IGA is kind of renowned for how much he gives back. On top of that, then there's the things like the employment that we touched on, but also just that it's here.
Mm-hmm. Oh, convenience for sure. Like 5 minutes. Imagine if we all went shopping in the city and we didn't, all of a sudden the grocery stores wouldn't be here. And it would be like a 2-hour trip to get to the city by the time you deal with ferries.
Probably at least, because it's, 40 minutes there, 40 minutes back, and then you're waiting and you're shopping and all the rest. So I could chew up half of a day probably pretty quickly. And for what? To save, 20 cents on a liter of milk or something like that. Yeah. Right. So I think that, when we look at what we're getting for the extra 15%, I think it's more than a fair transaction.
Yeah, and giving back to the community is so huge. Like, it would be such a shame if our grocery stores were under different management that didn't give back to sports clubs and different groups, like endless groups come to the IGA and probably Super Value too, and just for support. And there's always that support back there to the community.
Yeah, it means a lot to the community to have those grocery stores here feeding us and looking after the community in general.
And during COVID times, like we felt so good about the updates we got and just them looking after us and being open and all the protocols that were happening at the store and that you could online shop. And the IGA really brought the community together during COVID.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you talk about stuff like that, then 15% kind of seems like a deal. Yeah. Really, right? Yeah. You're getting excellent value for the money. But I guess that's the not short answer to our groceries more expensive in BC than they are in Alberta. That some things are comparable and other things it's more money, but we think it's probably worth it. If you like the video, give it a like, maybe consider subscribing to the channel. We really appreciate it. It helps keep us motivated and engaged in growing the channel. And if you have questions about groceries or any other aspect of living on the Sunshine Coast, just leave us a note in the comments below and we'll either answer in the comments or shoot a video on that topic. So thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.